My husband is cheating on me, but I don't care. My mother thinks I'm insane. I found the receipt for the hotel room tucked inside his gym bag while looking for his spare car keys. The Marriott downtown, room 247, Tuesday afternoon from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. $89 plus tax. The same Tuesday he told me he had back-to-back client meetings and wouldn't be home until after dinner. What surprised me wasn't the receipt itself. I'd suspected something was off for months. It was how utterly calm I felt staring at the crumpled paper in my hands. No racing heart, no tears, no urge to throw his clothes out the window. Just a weird sense of relief? Like finally finding the missing puzzle piece that makes the whole picture make sense. Mommy, can I have goldfish crackers? My 4-year-old Emma tugged at my pajama pants, her blonde curls still messy from her nap. Of course, baby. I slipped the receipt into my pocket and grabbed the red container from the pantry, my hand steady as I poured the crackers into her princess bowl. Want to watch Bluey while you eat? She nodded enthusiastically and skipped toward the living room. 2-year-old Jake was still sleeping upstairs. He'd be up in another hour wanting his afternoon snack. Same routine, every day. While my husband David was apparently establishing his own routine at downtown hotels. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Marcus, divorce attorney, in my contacts. I'd saved his number 3 weeks ago after our consultation, which David thought was a dentist appointment. Marcus said to call when I had concrete evidence. A hotel receipt probably counted. Before I could dial, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Still coming for dinner Sunday? David mentioned you've been distant lately. Everything okay? Of course he did. David had always been good at managing perceptions, especially with my family. My mother Patricia adored him, successful financial advisor, perfect suburban husband, father of her precious grandchildren. She'd probably have a stroke if she knew her golden son-in-law was spending Tuesday afternoons with someone who wasn't her daughter. I typed back, yes, we'll be there. All good here. The lie came easily. I've been practicing lies for weeks now, ever since I started taking online marketing courses during the kids' nap times. David thought I was doing yoga videos in the basement. In reality, I was building an escape plan, 1 credit hour at a time. My laptop sat open on the kitchen counter, still logged into my business administration course. I'd finished Module 6 this morning, financial planning for small business owners. Ironic, considering I was using those skills to plan my exit from this marriage rather than start a business. Though I suppose they were the same thing, in a way. The front door chimed at exactly 6:47 p.m. David's punctual arrival home, right on schedule. Hey babe, he called out, keys jingling as he hung them on the hook by the door. Sorry I'm late. Johnson's portfolio review ran long. I looked at the hotel receipt still crumpled in my palm. Room 247. Tuesday, February 6 p.m. No problem, I called back, my voice surprisingly normal. Dinner's almost ready. Emma ran to greet him with her usual enthusiasm, and I heard his genuine laughter as he scooped her up. That's what made this whole thing so bizarre. He wasn't a monster. He was still a decent father, still kind to me most days. He was just unfaithful. And somehow, that felt like the least important part of this equation. The next morning, I waited until David left for work before calling Marcus. Emma was coloring at the kitchen table while Jake played with blocks nearby, the perfect domestic scene while I planned my divorce. I have the evidence we discussed, I said when Marcus picked up. Hotel receipts, unusual charges, that sort of thing? Hotel receipt. Marriott downtown, Tuesday afternoon. He told me he had client meetings. Marcus was quiet for a moment. That's good, Sarah. Adultery still matters in custody cases, even if Virginia is mostly no fault. Combined with your documentation of being the primary caregiver, this strengthens your position considerably. I've been keeping a detailed log for 2 months now, every school pickup, doctor's appointment, bedtime routine, playground visit. David's contributions were sparse. Weekend pancakes and the occasional bath time when I had evening plans with friends. What's our timeline looking like? I asked, watching Emma carefully color inside the lines of a butterfly. I'd say another month or 2 of documentation, then we file. Your online courses finish in December, right? Having that certificate will help show you're actively working toward financial independence. Financial independence. 6 months ago, those words would have terrified me. I'd been out of the workforce for 5 years, completely dependent on David's income. Now they felt like freedom. After hanging up, I opened my laptop to check my secret savings account. $3,412. Not much, but growing steadily from the cash I skimmed from grocery budgets and the small amounts I transferred from our joint account. David never checked the statements, he trusted me completely with household finances. The irony wasn't lost on me. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Kelly. Coffee today? I have tea, a hot beverage. I texted back, can't, kids are cranky. Spill here. Remember David's secretary? The blonde one from the Christmas party? Saw her at Nordstrom yesterday buying very sexy lingerie. Like, not for her boyfriend sexy. Rich married man sexy. My stomach dropped, but not from betrayal. From the realization that everyone was going to know before I was ready. Kelly meant well, but she wasn't exactly known for discretion. Interesting, I typed back. Maybe she has a hot date. Girl, I'm just saying. Keep your eyes open. She was definitely shopping above her secretary's salary. I set the phone down and stared at Emma's careful coloring. The blonde secretary. I'd met her exactly once, at David's company Christmas party last year. Ashley? Amber? Something with an A. She was young, maybe 25, with the kind of effortless beauty that came from good genes and minimal responsibility. Mommy, look. Emma held up her masterpiece. I made the butterfly purple and green. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Should we hang it on the fridge? She beamed and nodded. Such simple joy in such small accomplishments. I envied her that. Jake woke up from his morning nap earlier than usual, crying and clingy. As I held him against my chest, rubbing his back in slow circles, I realized this was what I'd miss most. Not David, not our marriage, but these quiet moments when it was just me and my babies. After the divorce, I'd have to share them. Every other weekend, they'd go to David's apartment, probably meeting Amber Ashley whoever eventually. The thought should have made me sad. Instead, I felt that same strange relief. By the time they met Daddy's new girlfriend, I'd be free too. My phone rang, my mother's ringtone. Hi, Mom. Sarah, honey, I've been thinking about Sunday dinner. Is everything really okay? David seemed worried about you when I ran into him at the bank yesterday. Of course he was laying the groundwork. Making sure everyone knew I was the problem. What exactly did he say? I asked, bouncing Jake gently as he fussed against my shoulder. Just that you've been stressed lately. Taking on too much with the kids, maybe feeling overwhelmed. He's concerned you might need to talk to someone professional. My grip tightened on the phone. Professional help. Of course. Plant the seeds early that his wife was unstable, maybe depressed. Set the stage for any future custody battles. I'm fine, Mom. Just tired. You know how it is with two little ones. Well, that's exactly what I told him. I said, David, that girl has been taking care of everyone else since she was 16. She's stronger than you think. But maybe you should consider getting some help with the children? I could recommend that nice nanny service the Hendersons used. I almost laughed. A nanny. So I could have more free time to, what? Be the perfect wife to my cheating husband? Pretend I didn't know about room 247 and whoever was sharing it with him? I don't need a nanny, Mom. Sarah Patricia Mitchell, you don't have to be a martyr. There's no shame in admitting when you need support. She used my full name like I was still 12 years old. Sarah Patricia Mitchell, except it wasn't Mitchell anymore, was it? It had been Sarah Patricia Chen for 8 years. Soon it would be Sarah Patricia Mitchell again. I'm managing just fine. A long pause. Your father thinks I should mind my own business, but I'm going to say this anyway. Marriage is work, sweetheart. The first few years with small children are the hardest. Don't give up just because things feel difficult right now. Give up. As if I was the one who'd given up. As if I was the one sneaking around downtown hotels on Tuesday afternoons. Mom, I really need to go. Jake's getting cranky and Emma needs lunch. Of course. But Sarah? Whatever you're going through, talk to David about it. Don't shut him out. That's how marriages fall apart. After she hung up, I sat in my kitchen staring at the butterfly Emma had colored. Purple and green wings, carefully contained within black lines. The butterfly knew exactly where it belonged. My laptop chimed with a new email from Professor Martinez, my online instructor. Sarah, your latest assignment scored 97%. Your business plan for financial consulting services shows real promise. Have you considered pursuing the advanced certification? Advanced certification. I clicked open my assignment, a detailed plan for a freelance financial consulting business targeting small nonprofits. 43 pages of market research, projected earnings, startup costs. I'd written it during stolen hours after the kids' bedtime, fueled by the kind of focus I'd forgotten I possessed. The projected first-year income was modest, maybe $30,000 if I built a solid client base. But it was mine. Not dependent on David's success or his mood or his fidelity. Just mine. My secret account balance flashed on the screen. $3,412. By Christmas, if I stayed careful, it could be $5,000. Enough for a security deposit on an apartment, enough to survive the first few months while my business got off the ground. Emma wandered into the kitchen. Mommy, I'm hungry. What would you like for lunch, baby? Grilled cheese. Perfect choice. I closed the laptop and pulled out the bread and cheese. Simple tasks, simple decisions. Soon, every decision would be mine to make. My phone buzzed with a text from David, might be late again tonight. Big presentation tomorrow. I stared at the message. Another lie. Another hotel room, probably. Another step closer to the freedom I was apparently craving more than I'd ever craved his faithfulness. Sounds good, I texted back. Love you. Even my lies were getting easier. Thursday morning brought an unexpected complication. I was loading the dishwasher when my phone rang, David's office number. Mrs. Chen? This is Rebecca from Mr. Chen's office. Not the secretary I was expecting. Rebecca was the office manager, older, professional, someone I'd actually liked during company events. Hi Rebecca, what's up? I'm so sorry to bother you, but David left his presentation materials at home this morning. The Morrison Group meeting got moved up to 10:30, and he's practically having a panic attack. Is there any way you could bring them by? I glanced at the kitchen counter. No manila folders, no briefcase contents, nothing that looked like forgotten presentation materials. What exactly am I looking for? The blue folder with the Morrison financials? He said it should be on his desk in the home office. David's home office was officially off limits, his sanctuary, he called it. I'd respected that boundary for 8 years. But desperate times and all that. Give me 5 minutes to look around. I'll call you back. I corralled the kids with cartoons and headed upstairs to David's office. The blue folder sat right on his desk, exactly where Rebecca said it would be. As I reached for it, his computer screen caught my eye. He'd left it open, something he never did. The email preview panel showed the top message, ashley.morrison@consulting@gmail.com. Can't wait for this afternoon, 2 hearts. Morrison. As in the Morrison Group meeting. As in not his secretary at all, but apparently a client. A client who sent heart emojis. I clicked open the email thread, my hands surprisingly steady. David, Tuesday was incredible. I haven't stopped thinking about your hands on my. I stopped reading and scrolled to the beginning of their correspondence. 3 months of emails. Not just affair messages, but business discussions mixed with increasingly intimate exchanges. Ashley Morrison owned a small consulting firm. David was handling her company's financial planning and apparently much more. The timeline made me nauseous. 3 months ago was Emma's birthday party. David had been distracted that whole weekend, checking his phone constantly. I thought he was stressed about a difficult client. I was right, in a way. My phone buzzed, Rebecca calling back. Did you find it? Yes, I have the folder. But Rebecca, I'm dealing with a sick kid situation here. Could David pick it up instead? Maybe grab coffee on his way back to the office? A pause. Oh, well, he's actually meeting Ms. Morrison at her office across town. He was hoping to review the materials beforehand. Right. Ms. Morrison. I kept my voice level. I'm sure they can figure it out. After hanging up, I photographed every email with my phone. Marcus had said documentation was key, but this was better than hotel receipts. This was a client relationship crossed with an affair, potential ethics violations that could damage David's professional reputation. The kids were fighting over the remote when I came downstairs, both crying. Normal mom crisis that should have had my full attention. Instead, I was calculating. Ashley Morrison ran a consulting business. That meant financial records, business filings, a paper trail of their professional relationship turned personal. Emma, Jake, what's the rule about sharing? I settled them on opposite ends of the couch with different shows on different devices. Parallel play, not sharing. Sometimes separation was the healthiest option. My laptop was still open to my business coursework. Professor Martinez had posted grades for our midterm project, another A. I was maintaining a 3.9 GPA while uncovering my husband's affair and planning my exit strategy. 6 months ago, I could barely manage grocery shopping without feeling overwhelmed. Maybe that was David's biggest mistake. He'd assumed I'd stay the same person forever, the overwhelmed young wife who needed his guidance for everything. He had no idea I'd been evolving. I opened my secret account. $3,412 had become $3,820. The automatic transfers were working perfectly. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother, bringing your grandmother's china set on Sunday. Time to pass it down to the next generation. The family china. 80-year-old Wedgwood that had passed from my great-grandmother to my grandmother to my mother. She'd been promising it to me for years, waiting for the right time when I was settled and stable. I stared at the message. In 4 months, I'd be divorced. Would she still want me to have it then? Or would it go to my cousin Jennifer, the one with the intact marriage and stable life? David texted, found another copy of the Morrison materials. Crisis averted. How are my babies today? Your babies are fine, I thought. Your wife just discovered you're sleeping with a client, but sure, crisis averted. All good here, I typed back. See you tonight. The lies were definitely getting easier. Friday morning, I called Marcus again while the kids played in the backyard sandbox. I have more evidence, I said, watching Emma help Jake build a castle. Emails between David and his girlfriend. Turns out she's also a client. A client? Marcus's voice sharpened. That changes things significantly. Virginia has strict ethical guidelines about financial advisors engaging in personal relationships with clients. This could affect his license. I hadn't considered that angle. What does that mean for me? It means we have leverage beyond just adultery. If his firm finds out, he could face professional sanctions, loss of income. It gives us more negotiating power for spousal support. After hanging up, I felt oddly guilty. David might be cheating, but destroying his career felt vindictive in a way I hadn't planned to be. Then again, he'd made the choice to mix business with pleasure. My laptop chimed with a calendar reminder, Emma's parent-teacher conference, 2 p.m. today. Shit. I'd completely forgotten, and David was supposed to come with me. I texted him, conference with Mrs. Rodriguez today at 2. Still planning to meet me there? His response came 20 minutes later, can we reschedule? Morrison Group needs urgent revisions to their financial projections. Morrison Group. Of course. Already confirmed, I typed back. I'll handle it alone. You're the best. Make my apologies to Mrs. Rodriguez. I stared at his text. Make his apologies. Like I was his secretary instead of his wife, his partner in raising our daughter. When had I become someone who just handled things alone while he handled Ashley Morrison? At 1:45, I dropped Jake off with my neighbor Carol and headed to Emma's school. Jefferson Elementary was the kind of place that screamed good family values, the reason we bought our house in this district. Married couples holding hands at pickup, involved fathers at basketball games, PTA meetings where everyone knew everyone. I was about to become the divorced mom. Mrs. Chen. Mrs. Rodriguez greeted me warmly. Where's Mr. Chen today? Work emergency. You know how it is. Her smile faltered slightly. She'd taught kindergarten for 15 years, she knew how it was. She knew which parents showed up and which sent apologies. Well, Emma is doing wonderfully. She's reading above grade level and her math skills are excellent. Mrs. Rodriguez pulled out Emma's portfolio. But I do have one small concern. My chest tightened. What kind of concern? Nothing academic. It's just, she's been talking a lot about families lately. Specifically about how some families change. Mrs. Rodriguez chose her words carefully. Yesterday she told the class that sometimes daddies go away but mommies stay strong. I felt heat creep up my neck. Did she say anything else? She mentioned that her mommy is learning new things on the computer so she can take care of everyone better. And that sometimes grown-ups make mistakes but kids are okay. Emma was 4 years old. 4. What had she overheard? What had she pieced together with that sharp little mind of hers? Has there been any upheaval at home recently? Mrs. Rodriguez asked gently. Nothing Emma needs to worry about, I said, which wasn't exactly an answer. Driving home, I called Kelly. Can you watch the kids tomorrow morning? I need to handle something. Of course. Everything okay? You've been weird lately. Define weird. I don't know. Calmer, I guess? Usually you're stressed about everything, but lately you seem focused. It's actually kind of scary. Focused. That was one way to put it. Saturday morning, I drove downtown to the Marriott. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, maybe just to see the scene of the crime, make it real in my mind. The hotel bar was busy with the weekend brunch crowd. Business travelers, couples celebrating anniversaries, families visiting from out of town. Normal people living normal lives. Excuse me, I said to the bartender, a young guy with carefully styled hair. I think my husband left his watch here last Tuesday. Room 247? He looked confused. Ma'am, I wouldn't have access to individual room information. You'd need to check with the front desk. Of course. Sorry, I'm not thinking clearly. I ordered a coffee and sat at a corner table, watching people come and go. Was this where David brought her? Did they have drinks first, pretending it was still just business? My phone rang, David's ringtone. Hey babe, where are you? Kelly said she's watching the kids but didn't know where you went. Running errands. Grocery shopping. At 10 a.m. on Saturday? You usually go after the kids' naps. He was right. I always went after naps, because it was easier to manage both kids when they were tired. David knew my schedule better than I'd realized. Wanted to beat the crowds, I lied. Be home in an hour. Okay. Love you. Love you too. The lies were getting so easy they scared me. I left the hotel and drove to Target, actually buying groceries to support my alibi. Standing in the cereal aisle, I had a moment of clarity that felt like cold water. I was surveilling my husband's affair location and lying about my whereabouts. I was documenting evidence for a divorce he didn't know was coming. I was building an escape plan while he built a relationship with another woman. We were both living double lives now. The difference was, mine had an exit strategy. My phone rang Sunday morning at 7 a.m. My mother, of course, the only person who called before 8 a.m. unless someone was dying. Sarah, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me. I was still in bed, David snoring softly beside me after coming home past midnight from another client emergency. The kids wouldn't be up for another hour. What's wrong, Mom? I ran into Janet Morrison at the farmer's market yesterday. Do you know who that is? My blood went cold. Morrison. Ashley Morrison's mother? Sister? Should I? She mentioned her daughter Ashley is working with David on some big financial project. Very impressed with his personal attention to her account. I sat up slowly, trying not to wake David. Okay? Sarah, the way she talked about David, it was like she knew him personally. Like he'd been to family dinners or something. She kept saying how lucky Ashley was to have found such a dedicated advisor. My mother's voice had that careful tone she used when she was fishing for information but trying not to seem like she was fishing. I'm sure David is professional with all his clients, Mom. Janet Morrison also mentioned that Ashley just bought a beautiful new condo downtown. Very expensive, apparently. Unusual for a girl who just started her consulting business 18 months ago. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Ashley Morrison was young, new to business, probably struggling financially when David took her on as a client. Now she could afford expensive downtown condos and heart emoji text messages. Maybe she got a loan, I said weakly. Maybe she did. Mom's pause was loaded with meaning. Sarah, I'm going to ask you directly. Is everything okay with your marriage? I stared at David's sleeping face, peaceful and innocent in the morning light. He looked like the man I'd married 8 years ago, kind eyes, strong jaw, the face I trusted completely. Why would you ask that? Because my daughter has been distant for months. Because David seems anxious every time someone mentions your name. And because Janet Morrison talked about Ashley like she was family. I could hear Mom moving around her kitchen, probably starting the elaborate meal prep for tonight's dinner. The dinner where I'd have to sit across from David and pretend I didn't know about room 247 or Ashley's expensive new condo. Mom, I can't do this right now. Can't do what? Talk to your mother about. I have to go. Jake's crying. Jake wasn't crying. Jake was still asleep in his crib, blissfully unaware that his father was apparently funding his girlfriend's lifestyle with money that should have been securing his children's future. I hung up and immediately called Marcus, whispering from the bathroom with the door locked. Sarah? It's Sunday morning. I know, I'm sorry. But I think David might be financially supporting his girlfriend. She just bought an expensive condo, and she's only been in business for 18 months. That's problematic. If he's using marital assets to support another woman, that's considered dissipation of marital property. We can demand reimbursement. How much are we talking about? Depends on what he spent. But Sarah, this could significantly increase your settlement. If we can prove he's been using joint funds for his affair, you could be entitled to compensation for the full amount. After hanging up, I sat on the bathroom floor calculating. Our savings account had dropped by $12,000 over the past 6 months. David said it was market fluctuations affecting his commission, belt tightening until the economy improved. $12,000. Ashley Morrison's down payment, probably. I heard David stirring in the bedroom, his alarm going off. Sunday morning golf with his college buddy Mark, another weekly ritual I'd never questioned. Morning, beautiful, he said when I emerged from the bathroom. You're up early. Couldn't sleep. Your mom called. His face shifted almost imperceptibly. My mom? What did she want? My mom, not yours. She's excited about dinner tonight. Right. Of course. He sat up, running hands through his hair. Actually, about tonight. My stomach clenched. What about it? Mark's dealing with some stuff with his divorce lawyer. Might need to cancel golf and help him sort through paperwork instead. Another lie. Smooth, practiced, delivered with just the right amount of concern for his friend's fictional problems. That's fine. We can handle dinner without you. You sure? I know your mom likes having the whole family there. She'll understand. Mark needs you. David looked relieved. You're amazing, you know that? So understanding about everything. He kissed my forehead before heading to the shower, leaving me sitting on our bed wondering when understanding had become code for easily deceived. But I wasn't deceived anymore. I was documenting. Sunday dinner at my parents' house felt like performing in a play where everyone knew their lines except me. David had texted at noon, Mark's situation worse than expected, might be late, so I loaded the kids into my Honda and drove to Mom's alone. Where's David? Was the first thing out of her mouth when she opened the door. Helping Mark with his divorce paperwork, I said, lifting Jake out of his car seat while Emma ran ahead to find Grandpa. Mom's expression tightened. On a Sunday? Can't Mark's lawyer handle his own paperwork? It's complicated, Mom. Inside, the dining room table was set for 6 people, my parents, David, me, and the kids' booster seats. The extra place setting sat there like an accusation, complete with the good silverware and cloth napkins Mom only used for family gatherings. Well, she said, removing David's plate with unnecessary force, I suppose it's just us girls then. Dad was in his recliner reading the newspaper, Emma climbing onto his lap with her usual enthusiasm. Where's my favorite son-in-law? He asked, not looking up from the sports section. Work stuff, I said, the lie automatic now. On Sunday? That boy works too hard. If only he knew what kind of work David was really doing. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, checking our joint account while Mom bustled in the kitchen. Another $500 had been transferred out yesterday, David's golf expenses, for his morning with Mark. Except David's golf buddy Mark lived in Seattle now. Had for 2 years. Sarah, can you help me with the gravy? Mom called. In the kitchen, she was whisking flour into the pan drippings with aggressive efficiency. Sit down, she said without looking at me. We need to talk. Mom, not now. The kids. Your father has them. Sit. I perched on the edge of a kitchen stool, watching her attack the gravy like it had personally offended her. Janet Morrison called me this morning. My chest tightened. Okay. Apparently, her daughter Ashley wanted to thank David personally for all his guidance with her new business venture. Wanted our address to send flowers. The wooden spoon still in Mom's hand. Sarah, why would your husband's client want to send flowers to your house? Maybe she's just really grateful? David's good at his job. Grateful enough to know about Emma's soccer schedule? The room tilted slightly. What? Janet mentioned that Ashley knew Emma plays on Saturdays at Jefferson Park. Knew that Jake is going through a difficult sleep phase. Knew that you've been taking some kind of online classes. My mouth went dry. David had been sharing details about our family life, our children, my personal growth efforts. Making our lives real to her, intimate. Maybe David mentioned it in passing. Sarah Patricia. Mom turned to face me fully, wooden spoon dripping gravy onto the floor. I have been married to your father for 36 years. I know what it looks like when a woman knows too much about another woman's husband. I stared at the gravy puddle spreading across Mom's pristine kitchen tile. Such a small mess, but it would stain if we didn't clean it up immediately. What exactly are you asking me? I'm asking if you know your husband is having an affair. The words hung in the air like smoke. From the living room, I could hear Emma giggling at something Grandpa said, Jake babbling his nonsense syllables. Normal family sounds in a moment that felt like everything was cracking apart. Yes, I said quietly. I know. Mom's face went through several expressions at once, vindication, horror, maternal fury. How long have you known? A few weeks. Maybe a month. And you haven't confronted him? Haven't demanded he end it? I looked at my mother, 58 years old, married to the same man since she was 22, devoted to the idea that marriage was sacred and worth fighting for no matter what. No, Mom. I haven't. What do you mean, no? Mom's voice rose an octave. Sarah, your husband is cheating on you with some 20-something gold digger, and you're just accepting it? I bent down to clean up the gravy spill, buying myself time to think. How could I explain that David's affair felt less like a betrayal and more like a permission slip I'd been waiting for without knowing it? It's complicated. It's not complicated. She grabbed the paper towels from my hands. It's marriage. You fight for it. You demand counseling. You make him choose between his family and his midlife crisis. From the living room came the sound of Emma explaining her kindergarten art project to Grandpa, something about autumn leaves and friendship. Such innocent conversations happening 10 feet away from this kitchen confrontation. Mom, what if I don't want to fight for it? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Mom's face went pale, then red, then something approaching purple. What did you just say? What if fighting for this marriage isn't what I want anymore? She sank into the kitchen chair across from me like I'd physically pushed her. Sarah, you have 2 babies. You've been out of work for 5 years. You can't just throw away your security because you're hurt. I'm not hurt, though. That's what's weird about this whole thing. I pulled out my phone and showed her my course dashboard, 6 completed modules, 3.9 GPA, certificate program finishing in December. I've been taking business classes. I'm building a plan. Mom stared at the screen like I was showing her evidence of an alien abduction. Business classes? When? How? During nap times. After bedtime. While David was working late. I didn't mention the Tuesday afternoons when he was actually at the Marriott with Ashley. I'm going to start a financial consulting practice. Financial consulting? Mom's voice cracked. Sarah, you were an English major. You've never worked in finance. I've been managing our household finances for 8 years. I've learned more about money from David's work than I realized. And I'm good at it, Mom. Really good. She was shaking her head like she could physically reject this information. This is insane. You're talking about destroying your family because you're having some kind of identity crisis. I'm not destroying anything. David already did that when he decided Ashley Morrison was worth $12,000 of our savings. The number hung between us. Mom's mouth opened, then closed. 12,000? That I know of. Could be more. I pulled up our bank statements on my phone. Look at these transfers over the past 6 months. All on days when David claimed to be working late or helping friends with emergencies. Mom studied the screen, her accounting background kicking in despite her emotional state. She'd managed the books for Dad's contracting business for 20 years. She knew how to read financial patterns. Oh, Sarah. Her voice went soft. Oh, honey. Her new downtown condo wasn't a coincidence. Neither were the business loan approvals she probably got with David's professional recommendation. Have you talked to a lawyer? Already retained one. Marcus Weinstein, remember him? He handled the Patterson divorce 2 years ago. Mom looked at me like I was a stranger. You retained a divorce attorney without discussing this with anyone? Without trying to save your marriage first? What marriage, Mom? The one where my husband funds his girlfriend's lifestyle while I clip coupons for groceries? The one where he shares intimate details about our children with another woman? The one where I'm supposed to be grateful for his breadcrumbs of attention between his real relationship? Emma appeared in the kitchen doorway, her face scrunched with concern. Mommy? Why are you and Grandma talking so loud? I immediately shifted into mom mode, crouching down to her level. Just grown-up stuff, baby. Are you having fun with Grandpa? He's teaching me to play checkers. But Jake keeps trying to eat the pieces. Why don't you go help Grandpa keep Jake away from the checkers? Grandma and I will be done talking soon. After Emma skipped away, Mom leaned forward across the kitchen table. Sarah, listen to me. I understand you're angry. I'm not angry. Then what are you? I considered the question seriously. What was I? Not heartbroken, not devastated, not desperate to win David back. Free, I said finally. For the first time in years, I feel free. Mom stared at me like I'd just spoken in tongues. Free? Sarah, you have 2 small children and no job. That's not freedom, that's poverty. I have a plan, Mom. I've been. A plan? She stood up abruptly, pacing to the sink. You mean those online classes? Sweetheart, that's not a career, that's a hobby. You can't support a family on internet certificates. From the living room came a crash, followed by Jake's wailing. We both rushed out to find him surrounded by scattered checkers pieces, Emma looking guilty, and Dad trying to assess the damage. He grabbed the board when I wasn't looking, Dad explained, scooping up Jake. No harm done, just startled him. I took Jake from Dad's arms, feeling his solid weight against my chest. He was getting so big, almost too heavy to carry comfortably. In 2 years, he'd be Emma's age, asking questions about why Mommy and Daddy lived in different houses. Maybe we should head home, I said. Someone's getting cranky. But we haven't eaten yet, Mom protested. I made your favorite pot roast. I can take plates to go. Really, Mom, Jake's going to have a meltdown if we don't stick to his schedule. It was true, but it was also an escape route. I needed space to think, away from Mom's horrified stare and the weight of her expectations. While Mom packed containers of food, Emma tugged at my sleeve. Mommy, when is Daddy coming to Grandma's house? Daddy's helping his friend today, remember? We'll see him at home. But he promised we could show Grandpa the card we made him. My chest tightened. I'd forgotten about the Father's Day card Emma had insisted on making yesterday, even though Father's Day wasn't for months. She'd spent an hour coloring a picture of our family, stick figures holding hands in front of a house with a crooked chimney. We'll give it to him later, okay? Can we call him now? I want to tell him about the checkers game. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from David. How's dinner going? Miss you guys. I stared at the message. Miss you guys. Sent while he was probably at Ashley's new downtown condo, maybe lying in her bed, definitely not thinking about Emma's excitement over learning checkers. Let me call him, I told Emma, stepping into Mom's hallway for privacy. David answered on the first ring. Hey babe, how's Mom handling my absence? Emma wants to tell you about her afternoon. Can you talk for a minute? Of course. Put my girl on. I handed Emma the phone and watched her face light up. Daddy. Guess what? Grandpa taught me checkers and Jake tried to eat the pieces and Grandma made pot roast and Mommy said we could take some home for you. Her excitement was genuine, uncomplicated. She had no idea that Daddy was lying about where he was, who he was with, what he was doing instead of being here with his family. After Emma finished her breathless recap and handed back my phone, David's voice was warm. Sounds like you guys are having fun. I'm sorry I missed it. Mark's situation resolved yet? I asked. Getting there. Complicated stuff, you know? Divorce is messy. The irony was so thick I almost choked on it. Yeah, I imagine it is. I should be home by 8. Save me some pot roast? Already packed. I watched Mom loading our to-go containers, her movements sharp with disapproval. David? Emma made you something special. She's really excited to give it to you. A pause. Yeah? What is it? A surprise. Just, when you get home tonight, make sure you act appropriately enthusiastic. Always do. Love you, babe. Love you too. Another lie that came so easily it scared me. Mom followed me out to the car, ostensibly to help with the kids but really to continue our interrupted conversation. As I buckled Jake into his car seat, she leaned close. Sarah, promise me you won't make any rash decisions. Promise me you'll at least try marriage counseling first. Mom. 1 session. That's all I'm asking. Give David a chance to explain himself, to fight for your family. Emma was already buckled in, playing with her tablet, but her ears were sharp. I lowered my voice. He doesn't know that I know yet. Then tell him. Tonight, when he gets home. Lay everything on the table. I looked at my mother's worried face, thinking about the years she'd spent building her perfect life, devoted husband, successful children, tidy house in a good neighborhood. She couldn't conceive of voluntarily dismantling that kind of security. I'll think about it, I lied. On the drive home, Emma fell asleep clutching her tablet, and Jake dozed in his car seat. For once, my car was quiet enough for me to think clearly. Marcus had said we needed more documentation before filing. But how much was enough? I had hotel receipts, email evidence, financial records showing David's transfers to support Ashley's lifestyle. What more could I possibly need? My phone rang through the car speakers, Kelly's ringtone. Hey, are you home yet? I have news. Still driving. What's up? Remember how I mentioned seeing David's secretary buying expensive lingerie? You mean Ashley Morrison. And she's not his secretary, she's a client. Right, Ashley. Well, I saw them today. Together. At the Riverside Cafe downtown. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. Saw them doing what? Having Sunday brunch. Very cozy, very couple-y, Sarah, they weren't even trying to hide it. They were sitting at a window table, holding hands across the table, acting like they were announcing their engagement or something. Sunday brunch. While I was at Mom's defending his absence, David was having a public date with Ashley Morrison. Not sneaking around anymore, not hiding in downtown hotels. Openly together at a popular restaurant where anyone could see them. Are you sure it was them? Positive. And Sarah? She was wearing a ring. Like, a really nice ring. On her right hand, but still. That wasn't a business meeting. Kelly's words hit me like cold water. A ring. David had bought Ashley Morrison a ring. What kind of ring? I heard myself ask, my voice strangely calm. Big. Diamond. The kind that catches light from across a restaurant. Kelly paused. Sarah, honey, are you okay? You sound weird. I'm fine. Just processing. Processing? Your husband is flaunting his affair at Sunday brunch and you're processing? I pulled into our driveway, staring at the house David and I had bought 3 years ago. White picket fence, literally. Red door, flower boxes, swing set in the backyard. The American dream in suburban form. Kelly, I have to go. Kids are waking up. Wait, Sarah, what are you going to do? Handle it, I said, and hung up. Inside, I got the kids settled with their leftover pot roast while I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. My secret savings account showed $3,847. My business course dashboard showed 2 modules left before certification. My phone showed 17 text messages from my mother, each one more frantic than the last. Please don't do anything drastic. Think of Emma and Jake. Marriage counseling can work miracles. Call me back immediately. I deleted them all and opened my email instead. A new message from Professor Martinez. Sarah, your final project proposal is exceptional. Have you considered applying for our Advanced Business Development Program? Full scholarships available for students with your academic record. A scholarship. I clicked through to the application, Advanced Certification in Small Business Finance and Consulting, 8-month program, potential internship placements with established firms. The program started in January. Perfect timing for a newly divorced single mother who needed credibility in the business world. I was filling out the preliminary information when my phone rang. Marcus. Sarah, I'm sorry to call on Sunday evening, but I just received some interesting information. Do you have a few minutes to talk privately? I glanced at the kids, still eating at their little table. Give me 2 minutes. I stepped into David's home office, closing the door behind me. His computer was still open from Friday morning, still logged into his email. Still showing the thread with Ashley Morrison that I'd photographed for evidence. What kind of information? I asked Marcus. I have a contact at the Virginia Financial Services Board. Off the record, they've received a complaint about a financial advisor engaging in inappropriate personal relationships with clients. The complaint was filed last week. My heart stopped. Someone else knows? Apparently, David Chin isn't as discreet as he thinks. The complaint came from another client who witnessed unprofessional behavior during a business meeting. I sank into David's desk chair. What does this mean? It means the state board will be investigating David's client relationships within the next month. If they find evidence of ethical violations, and based on what you told me, they will, he could lose his license. For how long? Sarah, in Virginia, sexual relationships with clients while providing financial services can result in permanent license revocation. Especially if there's evidence of financial impropriety. The room tilted. David wouldn't just lose his job, he'd lose his entire career. His reputation, his professional network, his ability to work in financial services anywhere. Marcus, I never wanted to destroy his life. I just wanted a fair divorce. You're not destroying anything. He made these choices. But Sarah, this changes our strategy significantly. David's going to need this divorce to be as quiet as possible to have any hope of professional survival. Meaning? Meaning he's going to give you everything you ask for to keep this out of the public record. After hanging up, I sat in David's office chair, surrounded by his diplomas and professional awards. 8 years of building his reputation, and he'd thrown it away for Ashley Morrison and her downtown condo. My phone buzzed with a text from David, just pulling into the driveway. Hope you saved room for dessert. I picked up Emma's favorite ice cream. He bought ice cream. After spending Sunday afternoon publicly dating his client-turned-girlfriend, after buying her a diamond ring, after lying about helping Mark with divorce paperwork, David had stopped for ice cream because he remembered Emma's favorite flavor. That was the thing about David that made this whole situation so complicated. He wasn't a monster. He was just a man who'd convinced himself he could have everything: wife, kids, suburban stability, and a passionate affair with a younger woman. He probably told himself the ice cream made up for missing family dinner. I heard his key in the front door, heard Emma's shriek of excitement as she ran to greet him. Daddy. You're home. I have a surprise for you. A surprise? I love surprises, David's voice carried down the hallway, warm and genuine. But first, who wants ice cream? Both kids cheered. Normal family sounds, normal father behavior. If I didn't know about Ashley Morrison, this would be a perfect Sunday evening. I stayed in his office a moment longer, staring at his computer screen. The email thread with Ashley was still open, their last exchange from this morning. Can't wait to show you the ring properly tonight. Your place or mine? 2 hearts. Mine. Sarah's at her mother's until late. We'll have privacy. Perfect. I love you, David. Love you too, baby. My place. He brought Ashley to our house. Our bed. While I was at Mom's defending his absence and the kids were safely away, David had been planning to bring his girlfriend into our home. I screenshot the conversation and forwarded it to Marcus with a simple message. Is this enough evidence yet? His response came back within minutes. More than enough. We can file tomorrow if you're ready. Tomorrow. I stared at the word. Tomorrow I could officially begin the process of ending my marriage. Tomorrow I could stop pretending I didn't know about room 247 and Ashley's ring and the $12,000 David had spent on his other life. From the kitchen came the sound of my family eating ice cream, David asking about Emma's day, Jake babbling happily in his high chair, normal domestic bliss built on a foundation of lies. I typed back to Marcus, let's do it. I was putting Jake down for his afternoon nap when I heard David's phone ring in the kitchen. He'd forgotten it on the counter, something he never did. David treated his phone like a lifeline, always within arm's reach. Mommy, can I have crackers? Emma tugged at my shirt as I debated whether to bring David his phone or let it ring. In a minute, baby. The caller ID showed Virginia Financial Services Board. My stomach dropped. Marcus had said the investigation would take weeks, maybe a month. This was day 3 since I'd retained him. The phone stopped ringing, then immediately started again. Same number. Emma, go pick out a book for quiet time, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. I'll be right there. I answered David's phone on the fourth ring. Mr. Chen? This is Director Patricia Holbrook from the Virginia Financial Services Board. We need to schedule a meeting regarding a formal complaint filed against your practice. I almost dropped the phone. This is his wife, Sarah. David's not available right now. Can I take a message? A pause. Mrs. Chen, perhaps it's better if your husband calls me directly. The matter is quite urgent. We've received documentation of serious ethical violations that require immediate review. What kind of violations? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Mrs. Chen, I can't discuss the specifics with you, but I will say this, your husband needs to contact our office within 24 hours, or we'll be forced to suspend his license pending a full investigation. After she hung up, I stood in my kitchen holding David's phone, my hands shaking. 24 hours. Whatever complaint had been filed, whoever had filed it, the timeline had just accelerated dramatically. Emma appeared with 3 books clutched against her chest. Mommy, you look scared. Is everything okay? Everything's fine, sweetheart. Let's go read stories. As we curled up on the couch with Goodnight Moon, my mind raced. David was at Ashley's office for what he'd called quarterly financial review meetings. He had no idea his professional life was imploding while he played house with his client. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Sarah, I've been thinking about our conversation yesterday. Maybe you should talk to Pastor Williams before making any decisions. Pastor Williams. The man who'd officiated our wedding 8 years ago, who still sent Christmas cards asking about David's lovely family. The man who believed marriage was sacred and divorce was failure. I typed back, thanks, but I don't think Pastor Williams can help with this situation. All situations benefit from prayer and guidance, honey. I already called him. He can see you both Wednesday evening. My mother had called our pastor. Without asking me, without knowing the full situation, she'd involved the church in my marriage problems. Mom, please don't. My phone rang before I could finish the text. David's work number. Mrs. Chen? This is Rebecca from David's office. I'm so sorry to bother you, but we have a situation here. Emma looked up from her book. Who's calling, Mommy? Work stuff, baby. Keep reading to yourself for a minute. I stepped into the hallway. What kind of situation, Rebecca? 2 men in suits came to the office asking for David. They said they were from some kind of regulatory board. They wanted to see his client files, specifically anything related to Morrison Consulting. Morrison Consulting. Ashley's business. Did they say what they wanted? Something about investigating complaints of professional misconduct. Mrs. Chen, they had official-looking badges and paperwork. I gave them David's schedule, but I thought you should know. Where is David right now? According to his calendar, he's at Morrison Consulting for a quarterly review. But Mrs. Chen? The men from the regulatory board seemed very interested in that particular meeting. I hung up and immediately called Marcus. Sarah? What's wrong? The Financial Services Board called David's phone. They want to meet within 24 hours or they're suspending his license. And there are investigators at his office asking about Morrison Consulting specifically. Slow down. Investigators at his office today? Right now. They wanted David's files on Ashley Morrison's business. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Sarah, this is moving much faster than I expected. Someone with serious credibility filed that complaint. Who would do that? Could be another client, could be someone from his firm, could be anyone who witnessed unprofessional behavior. But Sarah, listen to me carefully, this changes everything. David's about to find out his career is over. When that happens, people make desperate decisions. What kind of desperate decisions? Hiding assets, making large cash withdrawals, sometimes even fleeing the state. I've seen men in David's position do incredibly stupid things when they panic. From the living room, Emma called out, Mommy, I finished the book. Can we have snacks now? Just a minute, baby, I called back, my mind racing. Marcus, what should I do? First, don't let David know you answered his phone or that you know about the investigation. Second, watch your joint accounts like a hawk. If he starts moving money, we need documentation. Third, be prepared to file for emergency custody if he does anything erratic. Emergency custody? Sarah, David's looking at professional ruin and potential criminal charges if there's evidence he misused client funds. Men in that situation sometimes make very poor decisions about their families. After hanging up, I checked our joint accounts on my phone. No unusual activity yet, but it was only 2 p.m. David probably hadn't even gotten the board's message. I was spreading peanut butter on crackers for Emma when my phone rang again. Unknown number. Mrs. Chen? This is Ashley Morrison. My heart stopped. I'm sorry, who? Ashley Morrison. I work with your husband on my business consulting firm. Her voice was young, confident, with a slight southern accent I hadn't expected. I'm calling because something very strange just happened at my office. I set down the knife carefully, my hands surprisingly steady. What can I help you with, Ms. Morrison? 2 investigators came to my office asking questions about David. About our professional relationship. They seemed to think something inappropriate was going on. The audacity was breathtaking. Ashley Morrison was calling me to discuss investigators looking into her affair with my husband. That does sound strange, I managed. Mrs. Chen, I want you to know that David and I have maintained a completely professional relationship. I would never want there to be any misunderstanding about that. Of course not. I just thought you should hear it from me directly, in case these investigators contact you. Sometimes people get the wrong impression about business relationships, especially when a client appreciates their advisor's dedication. I stared at Emma happily munching her crackers, oblivious to the conversation happening 3 feet away. Ms. Morrison, I appreciate you calling to clarify that. David is such a wonderful man. You're very lucky to have him. He talks about you and the children constantly. Does he? Oh yes. He's so devoted to his family. It's actually one of the things I admire most about him, how he balances his demanding career with being such an involved husband and father. I had to give her credit. Ashley Morrison was either genuinely delusional or an Oscar-worthy actress. Well, thank you for calling, Ms. Morrison. I'm sure everything will work out fine. I hope so. David doesn't deserve to have his reputation questioned over malicious rumors. After she hung up, I sat at my kitchen table trying to process what had just happened. Ashley Morrison had called me to establish an alibi, to get her story on record with the wife before investigators started asking harder questions. Which meant she knew exactly how serious this investigation was. Which meant David knew too. My phone buzzed with a text from David. Hey babe, crazy day at work. Might be very late tonight. Don't wait up. He knew. The investigators had found him at Ashley's office, and now he was scrambling to figure out his next move. I opened my laptop and checked our accounts again. Still no unusual activity, but I set up alerts for any transactions over $500. Then I called Marcus back. David knows about the investigation. His girlfriend called me to establish their professional relationship for the record. She called you directly? That's either very stupid or very calculated. I'm betting on calculated. Marcus, what happens next? We wait and see how David handles this. But Sarah? Pack a bag for you and the kids. Keep it in your car. If David starts acting I was checking our joint account for the third time in an hour when David's car pulled into the driveway at 11:47 p.m. Much later than his very late text had suggested. Through the kitchen window, I watched him sit in his BMW for almost 5 minutes before getting out, his phone pressed to his ear. Even from inside the house, I could see the tension in his shoulders. The front door opened quietly, he was trying not to wake anyone. I heard him set his briefcase down with unusual care, heard him pause in the hallway like he was listening for something. Sarah? His voice was softer than normal. You still up? In the kitchen, I called back, closing my laptop quickly. Just finishing some stuff online. He appeared in the doorway looking like he'd aged 5 years since this morning. His tie was loose, his hair disheveled, and there were stress lines around his eyes I'd never noticed before. Long day? I asked, the understatement of the century. You could say that. He opened the refrigerator and stared into it without taking anything. Rebecca said someone called the office looking for me. Did anyone call here? Your phone rang during Jake's nap. Someone from a Virginia Financial something board? I told them to call back. David's face went completely white. You answered my phone? You left it on the counter. I thought it might be important. I kept my voice casual, concerned wife being helpful. Was it something serious? He closed the refrigerator without taking anything and leaned against the counter. Sarah, I need to tell you something, and I need you not to panic. My heart rate spiked, but I arranged my face into the appropriate expression of worried confusion. What's wrong? There's been a complaint filed against me with the state licensing board. Someone's claiming I've been inappropriate with a client. Inappropriate how? David ran his hands through his hair. They're saying I've been having a personal relationship with Ashley Morrison. That I've been mixing business with other things. I stared at him, letting silence stretch between us. Have you? No. God, no, Sarah. You know me better than that. The lie came out smooth and practiced, but his eyes wouldn't meet mine. But the optics are bad. I've been working closely with her business, helping her secure loans and investors. Sometimes that requires meetings outside the office, lunches, that sort of thing. And someone misinterpreted business lunches? Apparently. He moved to the kitchen table, sitting across from me. Sarah, this could get ugly. The board has to investigate every complaint, even frivolous ones. There might be reporters, other clients getting nervous, the firm putting me on administrative leave. I reached across the table and took his hand, the hand that had probably been holding Ashley Morrison's just hours earlier. David, what can I do to help? His relief was visible. Just, be patient with me while this gets sorted out. The next few weeks might be stressful. Of course. I squeezed his fingers. We'll get through this together. David's phone buzzed on the counter. He glanced at it, and his face tightened. I should take this. Work stuff. At midnight? Crisis management. You know how it is. He grabbed the phone and headed toward his office. I'll try to keep it quiet. But our house had thin walls, and David's voice carried when he was stressed. I heard fragments through the closed office door. Told you not to call the house. Investigators have everything anyway. Need to coordinate our stories. Can't do this over the phone. 20 minutes later, he emerged looking even more exhausted. Everything okay? I asked. Fine. Just, client nervous about the investigation affecting their portfolio. Another smooth lie. I'm going to shower and try to get some sleep. After David went upstairs, I opened my laptop and checked our accounts again. At 11:23 p.m., while David was sitting in his car on our driveway, someone had transferred $15,000 from our savings to our checking account. At 11:31 p.m., the same $15,000 had been withdrawn as a cashier's check. My hands shook as I screenshot the transactions. $15,000. Gone in 8 minutes while David sat in our driveway talking to Ashley Morrison about coordinating their stories. I forwarded the screenshots to Marcus with a message. David just liquidated $15,000. What do I do? His response came back within minutes. Document everything. Don't confront him. Meet me tomorrow at 9 a.m. Bring the kids if you need to. Upstairs, I could hear David in our bathroom, the shower running. I climbed the stairs quietly and stood outside our bedroom door, listening to him talk to himself, or maybe practice what he'd say tomorrow to investigators. Professional relationship only, never inappropriate, malicious complaint. I pushed open the door. David's clothes were scattered on our bed, and his laptop was open on the dresser. The screen showed a travel booking website, one-way flights to Tampa, departing Thursday morning. One adult ticket. Not a family vacation. My husband wasn't just planning to weather this investigation. He was planning to run. I screenshotted David's flight booking and closed his laptop quietly, my heart hammering against my ribs. Tampa, Florida. Thursday morning, 2 days from now. He was planning to abandon his children, his wife, his entire life rather than face the consequences of his choices. The shower was still running. I had maybe 5 minutes before he came out. I grabbed my phone and texted Marcus, emergency. David booked one-way flight to Tampa for Thursday. What do I do? His response came immediately, call me. Now. I crept downstairs to the kitchen, closing the door behind me before dialing. Sarah, listen carefully, Marcus said without preamble. We're filing for emergency custody tomorrow morning. If David's planning to flee the state, we need court orders in place immediately. But what if I'm wrong? What if the flight is for something else? Sarah, men don't book one-way tickets to Florida 2 days after being investigated for professional misconduct unless they're running. And they especially don't liquidate $15,000 in cash first. I heard the shower shut off upstairs. Marcus, I have to go. He's getting out. Meet me at my office at 8 a.m. sharp. Bring copies of everything, the flight booking, the bank transfers, all of it. And Sarah? Don't let David know you suspect anything. Desperate people make dangerous decisions. I hung up just as David's footsteps creaked across our bedroom floor. By the time he came downstairs in his pajamas, I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open to a perfectly innocent online shopping site. Still up? He asked, his voice carefully casual. Couldn't sleep. Just browsing. I gestured at the screen showing baby clothes. Kelly's pregnant again. Thought I'd send something cute. David relaxed visibly. Normal wife behavior, shopping for friends' babies instead of investigating her husband's escape plans. That's sweet of you. He moved behind my chair, placing his hands on my shoulders. Sarah, I know the situation with the licensing board is stressful. But I want you to know, whatever happens, I'll take care of you and the kids. His hands felt heavy, possessive. What do you mean, whatever happens? Just that these investigations can drag on for months. I might need to take some time away from the firm, maybe explore opportunities in other states where this won't follow me. Other states. Like Florida. Would we all move? I asked, keeping my voice innocent. Eventually, maybe. Once I get settled somewhere new. David's hands tightened on my shoulders. But initially, it might be better if you stayed here with the kids. Keep their routine stable while I establish something elsewhere. I turned in my chair to face him. David, you're scaring me. Are you saying you might have to leave us? Not leave. Never leave. His smile looked rehearsed. Just strategically relocate for a while. Lots of financial advisors work remotely now. Except David wouldn't be a financial advisor much longer. The Virginia Licensing Board was going to revoke his credentials, and Ashley Morrison was probably planning her own exit strategy while David convinced himself they had a future together in Tampa. How long is a while? I asked. Hard to say. Could be 6 months, could be longer. Depends how quickly I can rebuild my client base. David leaned down and kissed the top of my head. But don't worry about that now. These investigations usually turn out to be nothing. Another lie. David knew exactly how serious this was, serious enough to liquidate our savings and book escape flights. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Can't stop thinking about our conversation. Please reconsider counseling with Pastor Williams. David glanced at my phone screen. Your mom's still pushing the Pastor Williams thing? You know how she is about marriage being sacred. I locked my phone quickly. I told her we'd think about it. Might not be a bad idea, actually. Show people we're working on our relationship during this stressful time. David's tone was calculating. Looks good if there are questions about my stability, my commitment to family values. Family values. He wanted to use marriage counseling as a character reference while planning to abandon his family in 48 hours. I'll call Pastor Williams tomorrow, I said. Good. Schedule it for next week though, I have some travel coming up for work. Travel. To Tampa. With Ashley Morrison and our $15,000. After David went to bed, I stayed downstairs transferring files to a secure cloud account. Screenshots of bank transfers, photos of hotel receipts, copies of his email correspondence with Ashley, evidence of the cash withdrawals. Everything Marcus would need to file emergency custody orders. At 2:17 a.m., David's phone buzzed with a text. He left it charging on the kitchen counter again, either from stress or because he was getting sloppy about hiding things. The message preview showed, Ashley M., bags packed. See you at airport Thursday. Love you. I photographed the screen, my hands surprisingly steady. Ashley Morrison wasn't just David's affair partner, she was his escape plan. They'd planned this together, probably while investigators were questioning them separately. Run to Florida, start fresh, let David's abandoned wife deal with his professional ruin. Except they'd miscalculated. They'd assumed I was the same overwhelmed, dependent woman David had married 8 years ago. They didn't know about my business courses, my secret savings account, my divorce attorney, or my carefully documented evidence of David's financial misconduct. Tomorrow morning, while David was probably meeting Ashley to finalize their escape plans, I'd be in Marcus's office filing for emergency custody and demanding asset freezes. By Thursday, when David's flight was supposed to take off, he discovered that his wife wasn't the helpless victim he'd left behind. She was the opponent he'd never seen coming. Tuesday morning arrived gray and drizzling, matching my mood as I sat in Marcus's office at 8 a.m. sharp. The kids were with Kelly. I told her I had an early dentist appointment, another lie that came easier than it should have. Sarah, this is more serious than I initially thought. Marcus spread David's flight confirmation across his desk next to the bank transfer screenshots. $15,000 in cash withdrawals, one-way tickets to Tampa, coordinated departure with his co-conspirator. This isn't just an affair anymore, it's planned abandonment with asset dissipation. What happens now? We file for emergency custody and temporary spousal support within the hour. I'll also request the court freeze all joint accounts and credit cards. Marcus pulled out a thick stack of papers. But Sarah, once we file these papers, there's no going back. David will know you've been planning this. My phone buzzed with a text from David, morning beautiful. Early client meeting today, might not see you before I leave for work. Love you. Early client meeting. With Ashley Morrison, probably. Finalizing their escape plans while I sat in a lawyer's office finalizing mine. File everything, I said. Marcus nodded and reached for his phone. Judge Morrison can see us for an emergency hearing at. He stopped mid-sentence, staring at the paperwork. Wait. Judge Morrison? What about him? Ashley Morrison. Judge Robert Morrison. Marcus's face went pale. Sarah, please tell me you know whether Ashley Morrison is related to Judge Robert Morrison. I felt the blood drain from my face. I have no idea. Why would that matter? Because Judge Robert Morrison handles all family court cases in this district. If Ashley Morrison is his daughter, sister, or niece, we have a massive conflict of interest. David might have been sleeping with the family court judge's relative. The room tilted slightly. What does that mean for my case? Marcus was already typing furiously on his laptop. If there's a family connection, Judge Morrison would have to recuse himself. All family court cases would get transferred to Richmond, which could delay everything by weeks. And Sarah, if David knows about this connection, he could use it as leverage, I finished. Exactly. He could claim the judge is biased, demand venue changes, drag out proceedings. Marcus's phone was already ringing. I need to make some calls. Can you stay here for an hour while I sort this out? While Marcus disappeared into the hallway with his phone, I sat in his office staring at the flight confirmation. Tampa departure, Thursday 6:47 a.m. 26 hours from now, David planned to be gone. My phone rang, Rebecca from David's office. Mrs. Chen, I'm sorry to bother you again, but something strange is happening here. What kind of strange? David came in very early this morning and cleaned out his office. Took all his personal files, his awards, even his coffee mug. He told me he was working from home for the rest of the week, but... Rebecca's voice dropped to a whisper. Mrs. Chen, it looked like he was never coming back. My stomach clenched. Did he say anything else? Just that if anyone asked for him, I should say he was handling client business out of state. But Mrs. Chen, the Virginia Financial Services Board called again this morning. They want to interview him tomorrow at 2 p.m., and they sounded very official about it. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. After David's 6:47 a.m. flight to Tampa. Thank you for calling, Rebecca. Mrs. Chen? I've worked for David for 3 years, and I've never seen him act like this. Whatever's going on, be careful. Marcus returned looking grim. I have good news and bad news. The good news is there's no family connection between Ashley Morrison and Judge Morrison. Different families entirely. And the bad news? Judge Morrison can't see us until Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Thursday morning? My voice cracked. Marcus, David's flight leaves at 6:47 a.m. Thursday morning. I know. But Sarah, I've been thinking, maybe we let him go. I stared at Marcus like he'd lost his mind. Let him go? Hear me out. If David flees the state with Ashley Morrison and $15,000 in cash, he's committed custodial interference and asset dissipation. Federal charges, not just state divorce issues. He'd be a fugitive, which means automatic full custody for you and potential criminal charges against him. But what if he takes the kids with him? He won't. David's not thinking about the children right now, he's thinking about saving himself and his relationship with Ashley. Men like David don't grab kids when they run, they grab cash and girlfriends. My phone buzzed with another text from David, working late again tonight. This client situation is getting complicated. Might need to travel unexpectedly for business. Travel unexpectedly. Even his lies were getting lazier. Marcus, what if you're wrong? What if he does try to take Emma and Jake? Then we call the FBI immediately. But Sarah, David's a financial advisor, not a kidnapper. He's running toward a new life with Ashley Morrison, not running away with children who would complicate that life. I thought about David's interaction with the kids lately, still loving, still engaged, but distracted. He'd been mentally preparing to leave them, convincing himself it was temporary, that he'd send for them once he got settled. So we just, wait? We monitor the situation closely. I'll have emergency papers ready to file the moment he boards that plane. And Sarah, once David becomes a fugitive, you hold every card in this divorce. Walking to my car, I felt like I was living in someone else's life. 48 hours ago, I was a suburban mom taking online business courses. Now I was strategizing with lawyers about letting my husband flee the state with his mistress. My phone rang as I pulled out of the parking lot. Kelly. Hey, how was the dentist? Fine. Just a cleaning. Another lie. How are the kids? Emma's teaching Jake to play blocks, and they're both being angels. But Sarah, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me. My chest tightened. Okay. David came by this morning looking for you. Said he'd tried calling but your phone was dead, and he needed to discuss something urgent about Emma's school. I glanced at my phone, fully charged, no missed calls from David. What did you tell him? That I had no idea where you were, which was true. But Sarah, he seemed off. Nervous. He kept checking his watch and asking when you'd be back. Kelly paused. Honey, is everything okay at home? Everything's fine, I said automatically. Because if it's not, you know you can tell me, right? You and the kids can stay here as long as you need. For a moment, I almost broke down and told Kelly everything. But Marcus's warnings echoed in my head, the fewer people who knew about David's investigation and flight plans, the better. I appreciate that, Kel. Really. But we're fine. When I picked up the kids, Emma ran to me with unusual intensity, clinging to my legs like she hadn't seen me in days instead of hours. Mommy, Daddy came looking for you, she announced. He seemed sad. Did he now? I kept my voice light while buckling her into her car seat. What did Daddy say? That he might have to go away for work soon, but he loves us very much. Emma's face scrunched with worry. Mommy, why does Daddy have to go away? My heart broke a little. David had come to Kelly's house to say goodbye to his children, probably convincing himself it was temporary while knowing it might be permanent. Sometimes grown-ups have to travel for work, baby. It doesn't mean they love us any less. But will he come back? I met Emma's eyes in the rearview mirror. I don't know, sweetheart. But no matter what happens, Mommy will always be here to take care of you and Jake. That evening, David came home with Chinese takeout and an elaborate bedtime story performance for both kids. He was saying goodbye, I realized, just not admitting it to himself. After the kids were asleep, he sat across from me at our kitchen table picking at his lo mein. Sarah, I need you to know that no matter what happens with this licensing board investigation, you and the kids are the most important things in my life. I looked at my husband, really. I looked at my husband, really looked at him, across our kitchen table. The man who'd shared my bed for 8 years, who'd held my hand during labor, who'd taught Emma to ride a bike. The man who'd been planning to abandon us in 18 hours. David, I said quietly, I know about Ashley Morrison. His fork clattered against his plate. The color drained from his face so quickly I thought he might faint. Sarah, I know about the hotel receipts. The emails. The $15,000 you withdrew yesterday. I kept my voice steady, almost conversational. I know about the flight to Tampa tomorrow morning at 6:47 a.m. David's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. How did you? It doesn't matter how. What matters is that you were planning to leave your children without saying goodbye. I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshot of Ashley's text. Bags packed. See you at airport Thursday. Love you. David buried his face in his hands. Sarah, please let me explain. Explain what? How you been funding your girlfriend's lifestyle with our savings. How you shared intimate details about Emma and Jake with another woman. How you brought her to our house, our bed, while I was at my mother's defending your absence. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I stood up, surprising myself with how calm I felt. David, I've known for weeks. I hired a divorce attorney. I documented everything. I have evidence of your affair, your financial misconduct, your plans to flee the state. David looked up at me with something approaching horror. You've been planning this? While you were planning your escape with Ashley Morrison, yes. I was planning my independence. I pulled out my laptop and showed him my business course dashboard. I'm 2 weeks away from my certification in financial consulting. I have my own savings account, my own career plan, my own future. Sarah, the licensing board investigation, it's going to destroy everything. My career, our financial security. Your career, I corrected. And our financial security was already destroyed the moment you decided Ashley Morrison was worth $12,000 of our children's college fund. David stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. The long hours, the stress, feeling like I was failing everyone. So you decided to actually fail everyone instead of just feeling like it? He spun around, and for a moment I saw something desperate in his eyes that made me step backward. Sarah, if you turn me into the authorities, I'll lose everything. We'll lose everything. We already lost everything, David. The moment you chose her over us. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, emergency custody papers ready to file. Judge moved our hearing to 8 a.m. Thursday. Give me the word. David saw me reading the text. You're really going to do this? Destroy our family? I'm not destroying our family. I'm protecting what's left of it. I looked toward the stairs where Emma and Jake were sleeping peacefully. Those children deserve better than a father who abandons them for his midlife crisis. David's phone rang, Ashley's ringtone. He stared at it like it was a bomb. Answer it, I said. Tell her the plans changed. David looked between his ringing phone and my resolute face. In that moment, I think he finally understood that the woman he'd married, the dependent, overwhelmed wife who needed his guidance, had evolved into someone he didn't recognize. Someone who wouldn't be left behind. Sarah, what do you want from me? I smiled for the first time in weeks, feeling lighter than I had in years. Nothing, David. Absolutely nothing. I want you to get on that plane tomorrow morning. I want you to start your new life with Ashley Morrison in Tampa. And I want you to stay there. His face crumpled. You can't mean that. I've never meant anything more in my life. I typed a quick response to Marcus, file everything. He's all yours Thursday morning. For the first time since I found that hotel receipt, I felt completely, utterly free.